These are the lecture notes for chapter 34, which is on digestion and nutrition. So this should be a review for most of you, but when we talk about what animals eat, they either eat a plant-based diet, or a meat-based diet, or they eat both. Of course, omnivores eat both plant and animal material, and humans are considered omnivores, even though some humans choose not to eat um, animal, meat. But herbivores, their primary food source is plant-based. Carnivores eat other animals. And then omnivores eat both plant and animals, or plant and meat. When we talk about digestion and the digestive tract is literally, for most animals, if they have a complete digestive tract, it is the tract or the tube leading from the mouth all the way to the anus. But some animals, as we've talked about, have an incomplete digestive tract. And the ones that have an incomplete digestive tract only have a single opening. And that single opening functions as a mouth, and also, not, you wouldn't really call it an anus, but waste would exit through that mouth. So food and waste enter and exit the same place. Um, Animals that have an incomplete digestive tract also have what's called a gastrovascular cavity, which is basically the digestive tract and the circulatory system are the same. The food is digested in the same cavity in which the circulatory fluid is located. So transport, which normally occurs in humans, is through blood vessels and, you know, the heart, and nutrients and oxygen are pumped through the body via blood vessels and the heart, whereas in an animal with an incomplete digestive tract, their nutrients and oxygen are in the same cavity, in the same area as the digestive system is. So planarian is an example of an animal that has an incomplete digestive tract. And this is kind of random, but I can hear the way I sound, and I think I'm getting sick. I apologize for that. I'll try to speak plainly, but I can tell that I don't sound right. I feel fine though. So anyway, the planarian, or um, phylum Platyhelminthes, which would include planaria, tapeworms, let's see, flukes. These are all in the phylum Platyhelminthes, which means flatworms. So food and waste enter and exit through a mouth. And then animals with a complete digestive tract have a structure called an alimentary canal. We call it our GI tract, our gastrointestinal tract. And there is a mouth and an anus. And the earthworm, which is the phylum Annelida, so that would include earthworms and leeches, has an alimentary canal and a complete digestive tract. Humans also, in fact, all vertebrates have a complete digestive tract. And this shows you a couple of examples of incomplete versus complete. In your Cnidaria, there is a single opening called the mouth, um, and there is a gastrovascular cavity, and you have the same thing in the planaria and the other platyhelminthes, the flatworms. Um, so the Cnidaria and the platyhelminthes both have an incomplete digestive tract. And then earthworms have a complete digestive tract. They have a mouth, and they have an anus, and they have an alimentary canal that travels all the way through their body from opening to opening. Now, humans and any animals that are herbivores, such as a rabbit or a cow, have monogastric digestive systems. So, in humans, if you start with the mouth, food enters the mouth and then it travels down the esophagus to the stomach and into the small intestine and then into the large intestine, rectum, and anus. And by that time, of course, it's waste. In a rabbit, food enters the mouth, passes through the esophagus, the stomach, and then the intestine, the small intestine. The large intestine, um, this is a portion of the large intestine called the cecum, and that is the appendix. That is actually the appendix. Humans have one also, which is located in the beginning portion of the large intestine called the cecum. It's just a larger cecum for rabbits. But the large intestine then leads to the rectum and the anus. So um, it does say that rabbits digest their food twice, and that is where that large cecum comes in. Food passes through the digestive system, collects in the cecum, and then it passes as soft feces called cecotrophes. And the rabbit re-ingests these to further digest them. So that is pretty gross. That means a rabbit eats its feces and then it undergoes a second process. But these are monogastric digestive systems. One GI tract, one digestion. And then we have birds that have a structure called a crop, and they have two stomachs. They have a proventriculus and they have a gizzard. So in a human stomach, for example, the enzymes and the grinding occur together. In fact, I don't know that you would call it grinding, it's churning. But in a bird, of course, birds are eating seeds, and so they have a crop that stores the food, and then, which is also what the human stomach functions as, um, is to store food. And then the proventriculus digests food using enzymes, breaks food down into smaller molecules, and the gizzard grinds up the food. So, and the urine and the feces exit a bird through the cloaca. The cloaca is also the opening where a female bird lays eggs. So, bird digestive system is different than a human digestive system. And then animals called ruminants. You see here a goat and cows have four stomachs. They have the rumen and the reticulum, which contain prokaryotes, bacteria, and protists, so unicellular organisms that help to digest cellulose because they are eating plant material such as grass, and cellulose is found in plant cell walls. Their cud is regurgitated and chewed and swallowed in the third stomach, which is the omasum. And the third stomach removes water, and then so it dehydrates the food. And the cud then passes into the abomasum, where it is enzymatically digested. And this is necessary because, of course, they're eating plant material, which contains cellulose, which is hard to digest. Humans eat plant material but don't digest the cellulose. The cellulose is just what we call fiber. And it does assist our digestion, but we don't actually break it down. Now, dentition, or the teeth, are different depending on the mode of nutrition in animals. Omnivores have variations in their teeth that accommodate vegetation and meat. Um, Herbivores have incisors for clipping, and then they have premolars and molars for grinding. So the example here is the horse. And then carnivores have pointed incisors, enlarged canines, and then that helps them to shear off pieces small enough to swallow. Their molars and premolars are jagged. And dolphins just have, like, all of their teeth are similarly shaped, but they're conical. So they're designed for, of course, for tearing. And then omnivores, like humans, we have incisors. We also have pointed canines, but they're not enlarged. And we have fairly flat premolars and molars, and completely flat molars. So we're sort of a mixture between the carnivore and the herbivore. In humans, we have a complete digestive system, a complete digestive tract, an alimentary canal. It begins with the mouth and ends with the anus. Digestion is entirely extracellular. In other words, it doesn't occur within cells. It occurs in the mouth, in the stomach, and in the small intestines, and maybe to a certain extent the large intestines, but mostly by the time you get to the large intestines are just concentrating waste and absorbing water. So digestive enzymes that are secreted into the small intestines are secreted by glands. The gland that secretes enzymes into the small intestine is the pancreas. And then salivary glands secrete enzymes into the mouth to help digest lipids and carbohydrates. This is just a diagram that shows the digestive system of humans, and it shows the entire alimentary canal, and it shows some of the accessory organs that produce the glands that help digest food. A lot of people think that the only digestion occurring in the mouth is chewing and breaking the food into smaller pieces, but we actually have three sets of salivary glands. And those salivary glands contain digestive enzymes for carbohydrates as well as lipids, but it is primarily carbohydrates. So starches get broken down into sugar, and that process actually begins in your mouth. And to prove this to yourself, if you will get a saltine cracker and chew on it, just a plain saltine cracker. In fact, if you get one with low salt or without salt, it'll be even it'll work even better. But if you chew it for a little bit longer than normal, you'll start to taste a sweet taste. It will go from tasting really starchy and bland, and you'll notice when it starts to taste a little sweet. And that's because in your mouth, carbohydrates are being digested into sugars.